The recipe hackathon that we're doing today is just an opportunity for members to share and contribute towards helping to make some awesome open source Salesforce Marketing Cloud solutions and projects. If you hadn't noticed, the theme this year has been a little bit open sourcey and a little bit package managery and a bit about how to deploy things and what we're building out and what we're happy to share. When we did the member survey last year, there was a bit of an ask around some more of the technical stuff. So, and also the ask was to let people be able to share what they're doing. So there's been a couple of low-key events like this during this year, just for people to share what they're doing. And we'll probably select another one in towards the end of the year. Really, it's just an opportunity for people to talk, share, and find out what each other's doing, especially in this instance with open source solutions. The rules of this hackathon leading up to it was simple. Let's share and help each other chart format.
Yeah, because like what it does actually is just takes the data and forms it into data usable by Google Charts for now. Yeah. So in like overview, like why build a library? The tasks like getting data from a data extension into Google Charts will be the same for everybody. So making a library will be useful for people that want to do it, and it has the sole purpose of basically being a ETL library. So basically it extracts data from a data extension, transforms it into the Google chart data format that's expected, and prepares the data to be loaded into the client-side JavaScript. Well, it doesn't like style the chart, like that's on you basically, and you have your preferences how a chart should look like, what options to use. Google Charts API is pretty powerful, so it makes no sense to do that for the user, like if their options are so broad. Yeah, and here are the supported bar charts that those you can see like some animated GIFs. Those are actually made using data extensions. So the bar chart and column chart are basically the same chart, but the column chart is just a vertical bar chart, even as the documentation describes it. You could use it, for example, to monitor like messages that is going out of your system, if everything is all right, if the volumes are dropping or stuff like this. Yeah. Then you have the pie chart. Don't like it personally, but yeah, it's a staple and everybody has seen it, and perhaps they will be expected to prepare some pie charts. I'm quite fond of the bubble chart because like it allows you to explore data. For example, you could have one axis showing like the unsubscribe rate and the other the send volume. The color can also indicate like the other parameters, like for example the spam complaint rates, and then you could just see like this has the label is wrong here, sorry. That some messages have higher send volume, and in which quadrant like the bubble will land will determine like how bad it is for users, like if you measure those unsubscribes and send volumes. Next you have the line chart, and line chart in a different version because Google charts are transitioning from one version to another. Since they introduced the material design, they are unifying the look of some charts, but it's not always available. So I just did line chart in two versions to show like what are the options. And what's interesting also, those two versions have different data expectations, but I will show that later. Yeah, area chart also could be useful for monitoring like send volumes. Stepped area chart, basically the same but stacked. If you use options available for Google Charts, you can stack bar charts and column charts as well, but just read the documentation and see what's possible there. The library is just for loading the data into that. And what I think is will be most useful, just a table. So you can extract a table basically, and as you can see, it's sortable by default. So that will be useful if you hate generating HTML, creating tables. I might add a version without Google Charts, but I'm really fond of this one as well. And yeah, what's the main problem basically when you deal with Google Charts? So when you extract data from a data extension, you get a single row represented like this. So basically, it's a JavaScript object with properties and values. But what Google Charts expects is an array of arrays, with the first item in the array being a header row, basically. But that's only for some of the charts that are there. In some cases, like for the table and the material line chart, you're expected also to provide like what columns are there and what data types those are. So the library takes care of that for you. So basically, I'll now show the code, like how it works. So you open the SSJS block, you load the library from content block that you have, and then you define like the source object. So for example, here I have a local data extension. I'm doing this from the child business unit level. That will explain like why there's so many data here. So we provide the name, we provide the external key, and we can provide the column names, but if we don't, that will be retrieve done with WS proxy, retrieving all of the columns available in the data extension. So if you provide the columns, and it will be only those columns that you provide, and they will appear finally in the order that it was provided. Yeah, and here we specify if this child should be displayed in a business unit. So basically, the context in which the SSJS is executed. We specify if the column is shared, of the data extension is shared or not. So this will basically add ENT to the name of the data extension for retrieves. And what else we do? We define like what's the lookup column and lookup value, because I tried to retrieve shared data extension data with SSJS, but it doesn't work for me at all. So what I had to do is to add a column to each table that I want to represent in a chart. In my case, the column is called chartable, and the lookup value that I'm looking for is true. So you have this configuration, so you can call it whatever way you want. And also here we specify the enterprise ID. So basically, if a shared data extension will exist in the parent business unit, it checks if this is that business unit and doesn't append the ENT prefix to the data extension name, allowing for the lookup to happen. This might get simplified in the future. It's still a lot of data to be added. Also was thinking perhaps if the enterprise ID should be stored in a contact block itself. But that's like an extra step for everybody to work on. So, and later you just use a function from this library, specify what kind of chart you want to use, and put the object into the function. So, and it will output an object that will contain all column data specified for tables like this advanced sort, and the data formatted in the output expected by Google Charts. If you have any questions until now, just please ask.
That's good. What, just quickly, and we've got a few other people that we'd like to go through, but just quickly, what motivated you to, why did you do this?
Monitoring like the account is very important for us where I work. I'm an in-house consultant, so we're taking care of the whole account, and perhaps seeing some data is better than seeing tables.
Yeah.
So you can bind this together with some Slack or Teams notifications, and you got a pretty powerful tool allowing you to check if everything is going on or not, working properly or not.
I've only got one other question, but are there any other questions? Okay.
So this works on Cloud Pages, is the main use case for it.
Excuse me?
Cloud Pages is the main place to put this content?
Yeah. For now, yes. But for example, if you wanted, you could also put this in the code resource, because like it doesn't render HTML. So using this function, you could have like a local page that is making an HTTP post request to your code resource with those parameters. And then you could, your code resource could return like prepared data. So for example, you could have a local page that is refreshing each minute and pulling data out of those data extensions, providing like live monitoring of some data extensions for some processes.
They make some dashboards quick and easy. That looks. How can people get? What help do you need? I had a quick look at the GitHub, and it does say that documentation is coming. Didn't see any license there at the moment, so it feels you've got the project started. But what help do you need to make it happen?
Well, perhaps testing if someone would like to see what's going on, but I know I have some errors still to iron out.
Yeah.
I'll show perhaps what else I have. Wasn't the content of the library? So you have this Google function, like which generates data for Google Charts, but you also can access like some helper functions inside of it. So basically, this Google function is using those other functions to prepare the output of the function.
Yeah.
So, and it can be also directly accessed from the page. What I need to do is also split this a bit, make those functions more usable, like in a standalone context, so it doesn't like rely on the Google function to work. So basically, in time to prepare like perhaps standardize, makes the functions more universal, and prepare the documentation. Yeah, you asked like what obstacles do we had in the chat. So I mentioned like I can extract shared data extensions records from a child business. It just doesn't work. And also,
I was going to say what we might do afterwards, because we always share this with these presentations with members, and not just obstacles. So it's not really what you're asking for help with, though. No.
Wait, I know I will go on vacation soon,
Yeah.
so I'll just make sure that before I go on vacation, like perhaps some bugs are ironed out, and perhaps some basic documentation is ready.
Yeah.
But where to get this library? So I linked already to this repository that I have, but you'll be able to find later the documentation on my website, or you can find some other content as well. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Thank you very much for sharing.
No problem. It was a pleasure. Cameron,
did you have something you'd like to share?
Should be coming through momentarily. All right, so I'm in Marketing Cloud, and I'll talk you through what I've got. So I've been working on a little tool to help make navigating Marketing Cloud instances a bit easier. In my experience on customer side, agency side, I found that when you jump into a new instance, it can be quite daunting. There's a lot of technology, a lot of automations, data extensions, and things that are quite difficult to untangle. And especially if the predecessor who was there didn't document things well, it can be a bit of a nightmare. So what I thought was there must be an easier way. We've got all these APIs, all these WS proxies and things. There must be a way that we can get the information in a way that we can read it more easily. So I have been working on a little pet project, which I've called SFMC Companion. And the SFMC Companion is designed to be a little toolkit. And the goal of this toolkit is to facilitate navigating Marketing Cloud instances more easily. So I'm in one of my instances right here, and I will refresh it to make sure my tokens are up to date. And let me show you how it works. So once you download the project, you can find it right now on the Chrome store. So there is there. You can download it for yourself right now. Once you've got that, you can actually jump in and you can open up the extension. And what I can do is I'm actually going to clear off my current extension here. and delete my data so it returns back to its reinstalled state. I've got nothing in here. And what I can do is I can tell it that I'm going to refresh my tokens. It's going to go and get all my tokens ready for me. Now, what it'll do now is as I go through and press update on each of these activities, it's going to go through my Marketing Cloud. It's going to scrape all these various objects. It's calling APIs that are within the Marketing Cloud UI. And it's downloading all those payloads of information, and it's storing it into a local session on my Chrome instance in my computer. So it's not going to send any data, not going to send any tokens off-site or anywhere else. It's going to keep everything contained within my computer, within my local computer. And it's going to download all my things. You can see here I'm just going through and I'm downloading all my objects. I've got a really big instance here, as you can see, a whole lot of folders and data extensions. This is still in alpha. I have still not released this into a much larger state just yet, so I'm still working on it. And I do know there are some scale issues. When you have a much large instance, it can have some issues. But let's work through that. It's now downloaded all the things, all done, all complete. So I can now, if I reopen my Chrome extension, now I can see all of my objects, how many objects are in each thing. So I can see how big this instance is and how many kilobytes there is, of course, of local storage taken up. And what I can now do is I can go, well, let me explore my instance. So let's pretend that I'm going through my instance for the first time. I'm going to go through and go into my automation studio. The first thing I might want to do is look for an automation that has all the big stuff in it, like your master customer views, all your big stuff. And so I might have my CAM test automation here, which is just a hot mess. It's just a hot mess full of activities that are going on. And I really don't know what's happening here. I need to get some way to find out what's happening. So I can use my extension and I can browse this automation. And it pops up this window in my Chrome. And it says, okay, so here's this automation. It's called the CAM test automation. In fact, yes, of course it was. It's got all the IDs, all the information, where the location is, the description if there was one, when it was last run, all the usual stuff you'd want to know about an automation. But it gives me all these objects. And it says, this is what your automation looks like. We've got contact analysis, import, and filter. Contact analysis, import, and filter, yeah. Tracking, contact, CAM, really big query. Tracking, contact, CAM, big query. Yep, so it's all here. So it's got all the objects. What it then says is it says, well, cool, why don't we explore those objects? So in my contact analysis, I can click on this object and opens up this object. And I can see this SQL query now. So normally, as you probably know, in automation, if your automation is scheduled, you got to pause it to view the activity. And that takes a couple of seconds. And you have to remember to go back and obviously unpause it. Or of course, you can copy the name and search for the query yourself. But again, that just takes time and more windows you got to open. So this one, it's all instant. So I've got here my query. And what's cool about this is that I've got my query here. And sorry, Matt, got a little bit of feedback on your side there. I think your microphone's unmuted. And so what I can do is I can see my query text. And I can actually scroll down and see, well, there's actually a few data extensions that are in this query that are being looked at. Obviously, subscribers and other things. But I've got some custom data extensions too. I've got my contact Salesforce data extension and my Einstein predictive scoring. And it's detected these data extensions from within my query. It's found those DEs. And I can then click on that DE and see the DE and see all the fields and see what queries reference that DE. Well, this query does the contact analysis that we were just in. So I can go back to my contact analysis, and here it is here. It also uses Einstein predictive scoring. Here it is here. Data extension, fields, all the information. Where's it used? Well, it's used in that query again. I'm back to the start. Where is this query used? It's used in my test automation. There it is there. All right, let's do something a bit more tricky. What about another SQL? CAM's really big query. All right. So I've got a 1 DE. I've got 2 DEs. I've got 3 DEs. I've got 4 DEs. I've got lots of DEs, obviously. And it's found all those data extensions. And it's got them. And I can then reference them and go, well, here's this DE. And it is the target of 2 different queries. And it's sourced in a query. And it's also used in a data extract. So I'm going to data extract. Okay, it's used in data extract. Well, it's not supported yet, sorry. Still working on that one. But you can start to navigate through these objects and see where they're all used. As you can imagine, for a really big query, all of a sudden you can see it kind of spiders out, and you can see all the actions that are going into making this activity work. What I think is really cool is that I've got these other activities. So my tracking extract, for example, it says, yeah, here's my extract. It's a tracking extract. Here's the things that it all exports and downloads. Yep, great, great, great. It's used in these automations, and it's also used in these transfer activities. So I can see that my tracking move is an activity that's been used, and here it is here. Tracking move you'll find in these automations, and it uses this tracking extract it's all related. So again, these connections that you wouldn't normally get visibility on inside Marketing Cloud, unless you copied and pasted the customer key everywhere, you couldn't make those connections. but through this you can. What I like about what I've got with this app is also, if I now know this is the beating heart of my extract, I know I've got to see this extract, I can click on my little launcher tool here. It's going to go and find that object in Marketing Cloud, and it's going to load it up for me. So I can go straight to it. I've now diagnosed where the issue is, or diagnosed where I have to be. I can then go and find it. And here's my extract activity, tracking extract. So again, the goal of this was the problem that I was trying to solve, which is navigating is difficult. Trying to reverse engineer someone's really complex automation is really difficult. So I want a way that makes it easy. And through this, I think I've solved my problem. And through solving this problem, I've realized that, you know what, I'm probably not the only architect who has this problem. I'm sure there are other architects out there, and even just automation coordinators who need to come into an instance and understand what's going on. So again, the cool thing with this is it's got all these connections. It makes all these bridges. And if you can see a little blue tile, that means you can launch it and go and see that activity for yourself. So again, I've got a contact delete SSJS. It's all loaded in. Not everything is supported just yet. I've got a couple of items that aren't quite supported just yet. I'm still working on those. Active development, after all. But I can see these activities. This trailhead module, it's a verification activity. It's not a real object, but I've got this activity that I can now see and inspect. I can go into, again, my really big query. And what I like the best about this is when it comes to documentation, if you're an architect, you do have to record down what you've found and produce some artifacts of what you're documenting. And what I've got here is a way of saying, look, I've got this data extension. Let's choose my sample rows data extension, for example. And I've got these fields. And if you've seen one of my videos on my YouTube channel, I've commented that documenting data extensions isn't easy. Well, here's a table you can now copy and paste. So that makes it really easy. But I'll make it one step easier. What if we could actually get that relationship of this table? What if we could copy the diagram.db shortcode? For anyone who's not used before, dbdiagram.io is a database relationship visualization tool you can use. It allows you to make really complex visualizations. I've got a couple of ones that I use, so you can create your own diagram. I've got, of course, my data views diagram. But if I wanted to, I can make a whole new diagram. I can start off and I can paste in my sample rows DE. Great, there it is. I can go back into my companion tool, and I know that I've got other DEs that relate to this. My sample rows, as you can see here, connects on subscriber key to my CAM subscriber key. For my CAM DE, get my CAM DE. I can get my diagram tools here, go back in and paste it in. There's my two DEs, which I now know are related. I can now create that relationship. I can go back into my BigQuery again, and I can get some other data. Some training birthday data. Again, here's my table. I could copy and paste this into Word or Excel and document myself, or I can keep documenting this in my database relationship tool. And all of a sudden, I can build out this really complex web, this relationship map of what my data is doing. If you can imagine, if you've got a really, really big instance that has all these incredible data extensions, all these incredible automations that are all running together, all in sequence, you may have to have some really complex activities going on and some really complex data manipulation. And now I can map it. In just 30 seconds while I've been talking, I've mapped out 4 data extensions with their correct data types and data lengths and all the rest. Primary keys all mapped up as well, all based on the information that I've seen from a query text, which I've got full access to, and all the data extensions that have been found. So again, the problem I was trying to solve is make it easier. And I think I've done that. But I also know that I've only seen a small part of the Marketing Cloud world. There's a lot more out there. There's a lot more niche scenarios that I'm sure people encounter. So what I need to make this work, what I've shown so far today is also on my YouTube channel. You'll find the links to the Chrome extension on that channel video as well. You can try it for yourself. It is an as-is product. I offer no warranty or guarantee. It is still in active development. It is a tool that I built for myself to solve my own problems, but I offer it freely to the world to try out as well, to see what they can use with it, see what they can find, and hopefully save some minutes of the day with reverse engineering those activities. So again, what I'd love some feedback. Now what you'll find in the extension too is you can right-click on it and you can see options. And I've got a really rudimentary information page here. I spent so much time in HTML and CSS on this one. You will find a feedback form which you can submit information on. So please, if you find any bugs, let me know. I've got one known bug already submitted, thank you, which was it doesn't like automations with 0 steps. I didn't think people would make automations with 0 steps and save them, but it turns out someone out there did. So I haven't got that bug fix in there just yet, but I will release it shortly. There's a quick usage guide of how it works, and also just what the goal of it is. Again, the big thing that I also developed this for is there are some extensions out there already that do some of these things, but they all seem to send data to external servers to process things and to send information back. And a lot of those extensions are being blocked by security teams because they don't want tokens sent to other servers, that kind of stuff. So everything you see that you've seen today all happens locally. Nothing is sent externally. There's not even a GA tracking token. Everything is contained to your local device. So for security purposes, I hope, and please let me know if you find otherwise, I really want someone to have a security team to review this as well, and to also show that this is a safe app that's designed to keep your data in your possession and not share it in any way, shape, or form. But otherwise, that is the SFMC companion. Again, more release notes and more usage guides and documentation to follow. Again, it was solving my problem, and my problem was in my own head to start with, so I haven't got documentation to follow just yet. But any questions you do have, I'd love to hear them.
Thank you so much for sharing, Cameron.
Again, definitely looking to solve my own problems with this one. It was through some inspiration of the community that already had some Chrome extensions that I thought, you know what, this could be the way to solve it.
Very cool looking extension, looks very helpful. Can't wait to try it out. Looks like you've got another customer.
Not a customer, this is totally open source. Totally free open source. There's no, I don't even collect your name or email address, nothing's collected at all on it. It's totally, once you install it, it's on your device. Yeah. So again, the entire goal of this was to make things easier. And especially when it comes to even things like trying to find data extensions. I should mention there's a whole function in here, the search function. You press on search, loads up search. I can type in cam. And there is everything in my instance with the word cam. Literally everything. Huge instance, I know, right? But all those activities are found. I can type in test. All things with the word test. The best part is, if I don't know where that data extension is, I can find it. This is a query. Now it's doing my date time test. I was doing some testing with date time, as you can see, and it dumps it into this DE. And where is it? It's in my demos location. If I want to go find it for myself, I can click on that launcher. It'll take me straight to that data extension in Contact Builder. So again, the goal here was make connections that are not previously visible, connections that are not previously easy to do. If you were asked what SQLs reference this data extension, I want to change a field, I want to do something, can you please find all the SQL queries that use this data extension or that upsert data into it? That'd be a nightmare. That'd take you days. Going through possibly thousands of SQL queries to see if it's a target or there's a source usage of it. Oh, nightmare. But hopefully now you can see straight away, where is it used? Nowhere. Where is it referenced? Oh, go my data extension. Where is it used? It's the target of one query. That's it. As long as I change this one query, I'm all good. Yeah, that's my showcase. So like I said, I've got a small demo video on my YouTube channel as well. And please do submit any feedback, questions you got to that feedback form, or any bugs you find too, because I would love to hear if this problem has solved, if this solution has solved your problem, or if it's just solved my problem and that's it. I'm the only person in the world who does documentation. We'll soon find out.
Matt Cameron, that's me, is working on a transform package. I've got the same problem as Cameron's got, and as a partner, you often have to document things, and you look at data extension sequels, you look at relationships, you've got to build up ERDs, you've got to work out process flows, and quite often in Marketing Cloud that may be documented or it may not be documented, it may be incomplete. And one of the first steps is you've got to go through this process. It's interesting because Cam's approached it from one point of view. The thought that I've been working on, I'm not advanced as a package or a GitHub yet. I'm really still in that research stage. But taking the output from package manager, the JSON file that's produced there, and then creating a document from that. What I've found as I've started to work through this is that a JSON schema to define the package manager JSON file is going to be very important, so that the JSON can be transformed. And the next step after that will be to find an NPM package, because this will run, the target for this will be on your local machine to run to convert the JSON file into a document.
Hey Trailblazers, Tony Zupanzik here. Today I'd like to talk to you about a project that I've been working on for the last few months called Builder. So what Builder is it's a development workflow for Salesforce Marketing Cloud that takes your workflow out of your web browser, out of that code editor there, brings it to your local code editor, whether that is VS Code, Sublime, or any other code editor that you use. You're able to update, edit, manipulate your folders, your files, and push them back into Salesforce Marketing Cloud without having to copy and paste every little update into the platform itself. In addition to that workflow, we've also upgraded it with a handful of security features, and we've upgraded it with the ability to actually package and deploy into any Marketing Cloud instance. So imagine you have a set of content blocks that you use on cloud pages or emails. You can package those up, put those into a Git repository, and share them with the community, share them with your followers, share them with your friends, your teammates, whoever, all by the use of a simple GitHub URL. And I'm going to go through some of that stuff today. The first thing that we do once we get set up, you can go to our NPM page or the website for information around how to get set up, how to actually get configured and get going. There is also a SFMCDG Trailblazer meetup that I was fortunate to be on that has all of that information as well. So we're going to start off by just running through some of the basic commands. And if you know Git, it's going to seem very familiar. And even if you don't know Git, it is simple enough that anybody can really learn how to use this. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to find the folders that we want to bring down and work on. So Builder has a built-in search functionality. So you can do Builder, search, and then there are two different contexts. So right now there is Content Builder and Automation Studio. So we'll stick to Content Builder right now. So the flags for that are -- and then CB. And then we're going to look for a folder. So we're going to do a -F. Now, if we're looking for an asset, you would do -A. So then with this, I'm going to type in the name of a folder that I want to look for. And it does do partial matching as well. So I'll do Builder SSJS, and I'll hit enter. And you'll see a handful of folders that come down in my instance that match that specific naming query. So this is the one that I'm looking for here. So I'm just going to grab that folder ID, and then I'm going to do a builder clone, go back into that CB context, the folder context, and paste in that folder ID. So with that, what it's going to do is it's going to go through, grab all your folders, all the subfolders, all of the assets that are included in those folders, and recreate them locally. So this has every file that is within that set of folders. And as you can see, it does do nested folders down to whatever's in those assets. So that is the basic cloning or bringing down of assets to your local machine. Now from here, if you're tied into GitHub or Bitbucket or AWS, you can turn around and push those into your repository and commit those to version control. The next thing that you can do is, if I don't need this comment, for example, I can go ahead and remove that comment. I can save that. And then what I can do is I can do a builder add. For the add command and push command, you don't need any context flags. So you'd want to go into Content Builder, your folder, your project folder. I'm going into my server, my SSJS classes folder, my configuration, and then grabbing that specific file that I've updated. The cool thing about this is you can do this for multiple files at the same time. So you can make a handful of updates and then push them into Marketing Cloud in bulk. So then you can just do builder push, and that's going to go in and make that update within Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So I've gone in, updated that asset within Marketing Cloud, and never left my command line, never left my code editor. So then one of the recent updates that we have worked into this is a little bit of security. So security on two different levels. So now when you configure a Marketing Cloud instance, that will get saved in either your OS X keychain if you're on a Mac, or it will get saved in Windows Credential Manager. So there's no local files being made, no system files being made. It's all handled through your secure password management on your machine. The second is this, for example, has API credentials. Now, obviously, these are not valid API credentials, but if you had valid API credentials in your files, you obviously don't want to commit those to GitHub. So what we've built in is a configuration system. If you've ever worked with JavaScript or Node.js, you have the concept of environment variables. It's very similar to that. So what we've worked in is for an existing project, you can do builder init -- config only, and this is going to create two files. So it's going to create a config.json file, and it's going to create a template file. So the config.json file will get added to a git ignore file. So this will not get committed to your GitHub repository. So this one does not. And then this one is really for that distribution aspect of it. So if you're distributing this, working with it on a team, you can put your configuration needs in this file, and it will carry with it. So that person that's deploying it will know what they need to do in order to tie in their credentials to your package. So with this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy a couple values into my configuration file. And these values, they can really be just about anything that you need to replace. It doesn't have to be API credentials. It doesn't have to be anything like that. If it's just a value that needs to be replaced that you don't want in there, you can throw it in here and it will act just the same. So I'll go ahead and save that, and then I'll close that out really quick. So then with this, if I go through and I add this configuration file manually and push it back into Marketing Cloud, it'll make that update. If I go through and if I package this file, it'll make that update in every single file that those values appear in. There's also a builder init update config keys that you can run manually that will go through and make those updates as well. But this ties into the next part that I'd like to show you, is that you can, if this is something that you want to package and distribute, or package and migrate to another instance, you can run BLDR package, and it's going to ask you for a package name. Hackathon. It's version 1. And then if it's tied to a repository, you can throw in a repository name here. And then just functions. All right, so what that's going to do is it's going to create a new file here. And this is a file that you're able to go in and actually deploy into any Marketing Cloud instance. And then if I go into, I can find it here. my API. Where's my configuration file here? API config. So if I look in my configuration, you can see that my API credentials are no longer there. If I go on my config file, you can see that those credentials are no longer there. So now when I commit this to GitHub, those API credentials are removed. And then when I push it back into Marketing Cloud, it'll do that swap. So it's a way to keep your API credentials safe. It's a way to remove them from your packages. And it's a way for somebody that is deploying your package to go in and make those updates and then have them be replaced and start off at a point that everything is tied in. So that's the package part of this. So now if I was to take this and commit this to GitHub, I could share this out and I can have you install this with a very simple command. So I'm going to save this and I'm going to actually create a new folder here really quick. Let's open the folder that I just created. All right, so now if I'm looking to create and deploy a package into my Marketing Cloud instance that somebody else has created, for example, let me pull up. So if I go into GitHub, for example, and I go into Builder SSJS library. So this file has a package manifest file already in it. It's the same that we just created. What I can do now is I can grab the URL from this GitHub repository. I can go into my command line and run builder install and paste in that GitHub library URL. This is going to bring down a few files. This brings down the actual package manifest file that has been created. And then since this has a configuration to it, it will also bring down a configuration file as I have laid it out, basically. So then for this, for the instance of ease, I will just grab the same configuration here, paste it in there. So now I have my configurations in here, and just to show you that there are safeguards, if I don't, I can do builder deploy, and it's going to tell you that you have configurations you need to set. So then I'll set these guys here, and then I can do builder deploy. And then again, there's safeguards. So I know that this package already exists in my instance, but if I wanted to go in and deploy it anyways, I can go in and find every instance of this folder. Save that, and then run my builder deploy again. And then that's going to go through and create everything in Marketing Cloud. And then it's also going to create everything locally.
Yeah, maybe just one question. Like, do we have like a end date to this hackathon?
Do we have an end?
End date, like deadline, basically.
No, I don't think so. It's just I'm just going to eat a hack and share. Probably breaking the hackathon rules, aren't we? But what was the slide that came up earlier? It's just about this one here. Let's share the love and help each other. No, I think we're just trying to do that. We'll probably do it again. And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for everyone